Curran Bhatia here with Frank Smith at Madison Square Garden. We're here for the Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano event. Frank, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Good to see you, mate. Great to be here in New York.
This is a massive event for all of boxing, not just women's boxing, but this is the first time women are headlining at Madison Square Garden. So what do you think that means to the sport of boxing?
Look, it's amazing for the sport. As you say, take out female boxing, this is a massive moment in boxing as a whole. This fight has really transcended the sport, and we've seen interest in, from media especially, outside of the norm that we ever would have seen. So it's great for the sport, and it's bringing in a new market. And it's great to be here at Madison Square Garden. To do it in an arena like this is sensational, and you're going to have a sold out crowd come Saturday.
It's going to be a huge event, and we don't want to look too far ahead, but literally just 1 week later, we have the pound-for-pound king coming back in Canelo Alvarez. So that's one hell of a 2-week stretch there, right? We have a huge women's fight in boxing, and then we have the king, the pound-for-pound king. So, I mean, the Matchroom Boxing schedule right now is pretty strong, I think you would say.
Yeah, look, we're running every week. We're running 45, nearly, getting close to 50 shows a year. And I think, not just because it's my job, but I think we're unrivaled in what we do. The quality of shows, week in, week out, there's no one else doing it like us all around the globe. This weekend, as you say, then you got T-Mobile with Canelo Bivol. Then we go to Italy, Milan for Scardina against De Carolis. Then we go to Bilbao for Leharaja against Metcalf. Then we go to London the day after that for Buatsi Richards, with more shows to announce as well. And it's a great time for boxing. Look, there's a lot of other people doing great shows as well, which is only growing the sport. So it's good to see.
This is what we want as boxing fans. I believe Mexico City just announced for June, right? That's another big one. So there's a huge schedule on the way. I wanted to ask you about, in terms of Amanda Serrano, her promoter, Jake Paul, right? We know that Matchroom has worked with Logan Paul KSI rematch. Wanted to know Matchroom's position on working with YouTubers. Would it be if they're fighting serious opponents? What would be kind of the mindset to work with YouTubers in terms of promoting their boxing matches?
Yeah, look, I think Jake Paul comes under a lot of fire, but ultimately he is actually giving boxing a real go. He's not in and out just trying to make a few quid. He actually wants to become a fighter. And, maybe we'll get some sticks for some of his opponent choices in the past, but I think he's got an aim to actually push this sport, and he wanted to fight Tommy Fury, and I think he could have beaten Tommy Fury as well. So I think it's good. I think it's good for the sport if it's done in the right way, if I'm honest. I don't think you would have seen, ever since we did Logan Paul KSI and then we did Jake Paul against Anderson Gibb, we haven't really stepped our foot back in there. There's a lot more people now doing those sort of influencer social type shows, but just completely focusing on it. We are a boxing promoter. We appreciate the sport. We appreciate the professional sport. I think, like I say, if it's someone taking it seriously in the right real fights, then fair enough. Why shouldn't they have an opportunity? I don't think we're going to be in the business of doing 6 or 7 influencer fights on a card, because that's just not what we do.
And speaking of Jake Paul and Most Valuable Promotions, you're also working with them on this fight. So what has it been like working with the Most Valuable Promotions team and seeing Jake up there as a promoter? Has it been a good collaboration between Matchroom and Most Valuable Promotions?
Yeah, 100%. The one thing about most boxing promoters, they're all a bit sour, don't want to work with each other, they all hate each other for whichever reason. The good thing about Jake Paul and MVP and Nikisa is that they just want to grow the sport, and they want to deliver for their fighters, which is most important. And if more promoters had that mentality, then it would only be better for the sport. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that. But it's been a pleasure working with them, and they, like I say, they got one goal: grow the sport, as we have as well. So it works very well together.
And I'm just going to ask you one more question, because I know we have the press conference and you got to go. We know that Matchroom, a lot of Matchroom Boxing is on the DAZN. The DAZN now introducing the pay-per-view model with the Canelo fight next week. What do you think about the future of the DAZN? Is it going to be a hybrid of regular events? Is it going to be adding the pay-per-view model? How do you see kind of the future playing out?
Look, I think they've been quite open at DAZN as a business about what their plans are. For the big mega fights, where pay-per-view is necessary to make them happen, they'll do it. But they'll continue to deliver an unrivaled schedule, as part of their subscription platform. You talk about like Canelo. Canelo was being chased down by every major promoter out there to do pay-per-view fights at $70. Of course, to compete with that, you have to follow the model of the other. How can you compete with that at $20? We want the best fighters on the platform. Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter out there. So to get him, we have to, and this isn't Canelo setting this, but this is the other broadcasters, by saying we'll do this on pay-per-view, this is the offer, we have to compete with that. So, you know, I think you're definitely still going to get unrivaled content as part of your subscription, and then for the mega fights that require it, pay-per-view is going to be there. But it's not going to be, you know, we're still delivering 40-odd shows a year, just Matchroom alone. They've got the Golden Boy partnership as well, you know, so you're going to still be getting unrivaled content on that front.
The pay-per-view model allows for even more events and more shows, and that's what we want as boxing fans. I know we're about to get underway here at the press conference. Frank Smith, CEO of Matchroom, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.